doesn't exist until it cracks apart. Time doesn't exist until it cracks apart. Time doesn't exist until it cracks apart. You were pretty at night. Time doesn't exist until it cracks apart. You were pretty at night. Slew the white-haired one first. You were pretty at night. Slew the white-haired one first.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of It's Time to Rewind, the podcast trapped in its own time loop right along with the movies we discuss. This season is the Serial Bomb Yo, and we're looking at Buffy the Vampire Slayer and Angel, and we've moved on to Angel Season 5, Episode 19, Time Bomb. Today we're discussing the sixth loop in the episode, starting at 29 minutes and 59 seconds, with Illyria knocking a glass of water to the floor, with Angel appearing with her, and ends at 30 minutes and 15 seconds, with another louder gasp of pain from Illyria. Joining me once again is the host of Con Air, the podcast, Jay Cluitt. How are you doing today?
Very good, thank you, Bubba. Thank you for having me back. My notes are strewn all over the floor. I hope I don't spill anything on them. It's a terrible way to have an office set out, but there we are.
Yeah, we get another look into, a brief look into Wes's craziness, although I think this is probably, other than the scene in the training room, this is kind of where Wesley is the most lucid.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, he's. I mentioned in the last loop that Illyria was all over the place. Wes is definitely there as well, but understandably for both of them, they're both going through a lot.
Yeah, they're both going through a lot of life changes, shall we say.
Not a fun time for anyone, this episode.
Yeah, so this, we're 6 time jumps in, and I feel like things are finally starting to get interesting as Angel gets sucked into her wake. This was, at least in the last clip, it was a new jump, because the first time with Angel and Illyria in the hallway, she did not time jump in that moment.
Yes. Yeah,
but
she.
In every previous clip, she's had moments where she's like had a pain, but there wasn't a time jump, but that ends up being a time jump later in the episode.
Yeah.
But that was in the first sign, she didn't have any gasp of pain. She just had the moment where she said, "What are you doing to me?" But there didn't seem like there was any gasp of pain right after that, and then she just walks off.
That's presumably an earlier time jump in her progression, if they're getting more painful each time.
Although I guess you could argue that she did, like it was more like a facial gasp of pain whenever the camera was focused on, like she was having her pain off camera.
Yeah, okay. The easiest kind of pain for an actor to have. Yeah. See, when you announced you were doing the time jump episodes of Buffy and Angel, I was like, oh, great idea. Wait, they were time jump episodes of Buffy and Angel? I did not remember them at all when you first announced them. I know you talked about this in the Buffy section, where like because it's not really a full time jump episode, it's like a third of it. It's less than a third of it is time jump. So I think that's easy to forget that exists if you just watch all 100 and whatever episodes in a row for the first time. But
I think for people that have watched the series multiple times, I do feel like the mummy hand one is one of the more memorable scenes that people can remember. But yeah, I can see how you would.
I guess it kind of gets lost in amongst, because I love the habeas corpus episode, the following one, and the Once More Was Feeling. So that season is all about like these 2 episodes are great. Everything else I don't care about. Or care about less, so I should say. That's the episodes across that one, but those 2 are the peaks for me. And the is it Life Serial?
Life Serial.
That gets lost in my memory. But now, having listened to you talk about it for so long, it's now one I will never forget, I think. But this episode of Angel, I wouldn't even consider it a time jump episode. I think when I watched it, just because it's so out of the standard time loop format, in that you don't have one person going through the same thing again and again and again and again. They're kind of jumping around seemingly at random to different areas, and that it doesn't sit well with me. I don't know. I don't like it. They didn't do it properly. Just go back and do it
Yeah,
again.
it's funny. We had like our green room conversation before we started recording, and I told you that this episode we were planning on getting your thoughts on Angel season 5 as a whole, but I think before that I also had in mind to have this discussion that we're having now about your thoughts on this being a time loop episode, and I think it's funny that you jumped into it unprompted.
Uh, maybe you were going to tell me about it later. No, I'm jumping
Yeah,
back ahead.
this is an
That makes sense.
aberration of the timeline.
Oh God, that line. Rebecca has some real lines of dialogue to get out in this episode, and the fact that she does them straight faced, and I believe them, is all testament to her and no one else.
Yes, I think I'm not one that usually recites and copies lines of dialogue, but I think in this episode I I have written down in my notes, I'd say almost 50% of Illyria's dialogue just because I love it so much. It's so bizarre and so like just
It's very written. It's very written. It's not. People don't speak like this.
yeah, but it fits the character of Illyria so well.
100%. Yeah.
And it's one of those things where we talked about it earlier, but Illyria herself is just such a memorable character, even though she was only in like 5 episodes, like 5 or 6 episodes.
Yeah, and I loved Fred so much, like as a character. Just she's such a nice person, such a nice character, and you get so few nice people in these series who just don't have anything kind of negative. They're not like attacking anyone at any point. They're just a good person, and I just was like clinging on to. Oh, great, she's here, she's great, and then to have
Yeah,
her ripped out so near the end and replaced with this God King who hates everyone and everything.
yeah. I haven't really. I don't think I've touched upon it yet this season, but I think that really does fit into what they were going for in the overall of Angel season 5, because they put them in Wolfram and Hart and it's all about them trying to not get corrupted by evil, but Fred started out, like you said, as the nicest character. Like they were all kind of, there was a lot of shades of gray in the Angel team, but
Yeah.
Fred is the one it's like, the height of morality, the height of niceness, the height of empathy, and then she's the one that gets corrupted the most by Wolfram and Hart, and then she becomes basically the most evil. I mean, she is kind of more neutral, I guess, because she is like just this force of nature, and she's I don't think we get the line of dialogue in this clip. I think it's in the next clip where she talks about morality and, in her day, leaders were no more moral than a hurricane.
Yes, I wrote that down. Yeah, yeah. So she's a difficult character to like. I think just on a personality level, but and just so jarring compared to Fred. It would have been really interesting to see where it would have gone in future seasons. It's a shame we didn't get them. But you're asking me about what my thoughts are on season 5. Season 5 might be my favorite season of Angel, just because it's so nuts. It's so like, well, what haven't we done? I don't know. Let's give them Wolfram and Hart. That's like because all 4 previous seasons they're quite dour at times. Season 4 is terrible. I hated season 4. I hate it. That's the one with Vincent Kartheiser as his son. I hated Connor. Just whenever they bring in a kid to these shows, I hate the kids so much. It happened with Buffy when they brought in Dawn. I was like, no, get out of my show. I don't want you here. And then when they explained where she came from, still didn't care. You can't do that. It's not good. Stop it.
Yeah,
And
I
then
do like the end of Connor, but yeah, I have not like gone back and looked at episode synopsises, but like Angel season, I probably like 3 and 4 is just a black hole in my memory. I know I've seen them at least once. I've possibly seen them twice, but I couldn't tell you like very many details other than, I know that there's some weirdness happens. Darla comes back.
Yeah.
Not Rosario Dawson.
I know who you mean. She's the one from Firefly.
Firefly. Yeah.
Yeah.
She
What's
comes
her
in.
name? Yeah, I know exactly who you mean. Can't remember her name. That's terrible because I love Firefly so much. And I really hate when there's like a will they won't they romance between two characters, and so doing that with Angel and Cordelia for so long, it became tiresome. I didn't get on with it. But it's mainly Vince Carter. Get out of my show. I don't like you. Go away. He's great in Mad Men. He's great playing characters you hate, and so he was great casting for Connor. Gina Torres found it. Gina Torres. There's Jasmine in season 4. But yeah, so when season 5 rolled along, I was like, oh god, it's another. Thank God, it's the last one. We just got to get through this. And then they have them running Wolfram and Hart. You have Lorne, maybe my favorite character in Angel, running the entertainment division. You have Fred and Wesley running the science lab, and like Gunn becomes a super smart lawyer. A character who I kind of. He was great to start with, but they had less and less to do with him, and then they just implanted him with a lawyer brain chip, and he's fantastic. I love just how bananas season 5 of Angel is compared to everything else.
There's so many good episodes in there. I know.
The one I was going to come and talk about, Smile Time, is maybe my favorite episode of all of Buffy and Angel together. I think just like Angel's a puppet.
There's that one, and I just remembered this was something that I discussed with Ian in the Lost episode, but I love the episode in the submarine, the flashback episode, and he hated that one.
Yeah, they do so, but just there is an episode of this show where you have Spike, fantastic character, not Spike so much, fighting a puppet and losing to a puppet.
Yes, definitely my favorite. I mean, I'm going to talk about it later this season, but just the way he says, "Oh my God, you're a bloody puppet."
I just remember the giant smile I had on my face the entire way through that episode. So fun. Yeah, so season 5 of Angel, lots of fun. I wish it hadn't ended at season 5.
And then one other thing in this clip that I thought was interesting is like one of the first lines out of Angel's mouth as he's trying to figure out what's going on is he asks, "What the hell did you do to me?" And I think that's funny because the last line that Illyria says in the previous loop, just a few seconds earlier, is her yelling, "What have you done to me?"
Yeah,
so,
I didn't pick up on that, but yeah, that is a good repetition. I like Angel's go-to looking around move.
Yes.
He will do again during my time on this podcast.
Yeah, I didn't write it down in this one because in this one it's he's kind of small in the background because this is the reveal of him, so he gets his so he has like his little flailing moment where the camera is mostly focused on Illyria's face and he's just kind of in the background. He's basically just blurry motion.
He's a character who's not often confused and out of place by being centuries old and literally being out of place. So it is fun seeing him put on the back foot a little bit. I never really liked Angel as a character in Buffy. It just, again, it's that will they, won't they, brooding, all dark and handsome. Like, that's not what I'm here for. I'm here for the monsters. Yes, you're a monster, but you're a good one. I don't care. And so I having him spin off to his own show was never like, okay, why him? But it does work. I like the character they surround him with, the setting they do him in. When we were watching this last night, my wife was like, why didn't Spike ever get his own show? And I don't think that would have worked at all. I think a Spike-centric show would be fine for a few episodes, but then he would get too much. You can have too much Spike, because he's a side character. He's a second fiddle.
Yeah, he works very well. He's the wacky neighbor.
Exactly, but put him up front, and that's too much. That's no.
Then you get the Ropers.
I don't know what that is.
That was like the spin-off of Three's Company.
I barely know what Three's Company is, so I'm sorry. I'm in a different country. I don't think we got Three's Company or the Ropers.
Yeah, the Three's Company was the wacky 70s sitcom with John Ritter, where he was pretending to be gay with two sexy women co-stars, and they had to keep hiding from I think he was the landlord, it was Mr. Roper at first, and then, or I think it was Mr. Furley first, and then Mr. Roper, and then they gave the Ropers their own show.
And it went down terribly, I'm assuming. Yes,
I would imagine. I'm aware of Three's Company, but it's not a show that I watched, and I definitely never watched The Ropers, but I've seen it on a lot of lists of bad or TV spin-offs that you've never heard of.
Do you know what's a show that's never going to get a reboot? It's Three's Company. They won't make that today. I don't think that's going to happen. That's not a 2023 show.
No, definitely not.
Hollywood, I challenge you.
Although they keep floating around the idea that they're going to reboot Buffy. I think I just recently saw in the news that Sarah Michelle Gellar said in an interview that she will never be a part of a Buffy reboot.
Okay, I mean, it's still, there's such a following for it today.
Yeah.
I can understand why they would want to reboot it, because there's so much potential there for just doing more monsters, and it's a female-led action series.
And they keep, they keep releasing comics. I follow them whenever they started season 8, which that was kind of a big deal because that was the first series that they said was, canon with the TV series, because it had Joss Whedon's stamp of approval, and he was writing it, and he was scripting the entire outline for it. And then they went on to do I think season 9, 10, I think even 11 and 12, but maybe not quite that far, but they did several in the season format. And I think that now they're doing alternate reality versions, where Xander is
Buffy
a vampire. Yeah. And Willow and Buffy were the childhood friends.
Okay, so it's Buffy What If, essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
But they're doing it as an
not?
entire series run, not just a one-off comic. It's this entire run in this What If universe.
What if Giles was a baby?
Yeah, the one that I heard, I've heard other podcasts talking about it. I don't remember ever seeing news of it, but there were considerations of making a Ripper spin-off of young Giles, and I would be there for that one.
Yeah, all the way. Yeah, I could see that. That could be good. That's something new. Who could play young Anthony Head?
I have.
Maybe too old for the Ripper days. Actually, you want for it to be. This is going to be a teen Giles, isn't it? Probably.
Yeah, it'll be a CW show.
I'm not up on who the teen actors of the day are, so I can't cast any of those, I'm afraid.
Yeah, I have no idea either. But again, this was another short clip, so that's all I have for this clip, unless you have anything else.
Continuing my aquatic theme, she spills some water. But yeah, that's reaching. That's all I can go. But no, that's all I got for these 16 seconds of this episode.
All right, well, thanks again for joining me, and why don't you go ahead and give us another plug for anybody else that wants to find your other works online.
Okay, so following on from Deep Sea, the podcast, Mark and I do Con Air, the podcast, where we're going through the action classic Con Air, scene by scene. We broke it down into 40 scenes. Turns out that may have been too many. But hey, we're sticking with it. We're over halfway at this point. We're just going through scene by scene, having a wonderful time with some wonderful guests, talking about this incredibly stupid 90s action movie about a plane full of escaped convicts and a serial murderer having a chat with a girl who may or not exist in a swimming pool. Yeah, it's a weird film. We like it.
Now, speaking of too many scenes, I haven't announced the next season of this show, but whenever I was breaking down Memento into chapter breaks, I was surprised at how many there are. There's 46 scenes.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, because you have flitting between story to story. Yeah.
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 Right, but
you may regret that. But then you can double up on guests, I guess. So, yeah.
Yeah,
We're trying
I
to
have it.
a unique guest each time.
Yeah, I think I have. Oh, it's like 46, 45 or 46 episodes, like scenes, and I have it split into I think 16 guests.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. But as always, I am Bubbawheat, and you can find me on Twitter where I'm at Bubbawheat. You can find this show, It's Time to Rewind, on Anchor.fm, as well as anywhere else that you listen to podcasts. We have a Facebook group, It's Time to Rewind, a time loop group. You can join that and discuss episodes as they come out, or have any sort of discussions on time loop movies, TV shows in general. And until next time, grrr!
Arr!
Time doesn't exist until it cracks apart. Time doesn't exist until it cracks apart. Time doesn't exist until you were pretty at night. Time doesn't exist until it cracks apart. You were pretty at night. Slew the white-haired one first. You were pretty at night. Slew the white-haired one first.